I remember just at practices, just being like some of them just being like a war out there. You're battling for every puck, and that's how we played. That's how we played in games, even with the talent that we had on our team. We had all this high-end talent, but our compete level was so high just from the practices that we had. And I had a lot to do with the coach, right? That's what he required from us was our compete level at all times being just you know up here every time. Every time you're battling for a puck, even our goalies just not quitting on any pucks, and you look at that going, "Holy shit! Like, wow! Like I want to try to score here," and they're going. They goalies are. They don't want anything getting in, right? And the competitiveness of just that, seeing that from your goalies, and then that translating to the game. Our compete level was so high, just from the practices, translating that into the games, and going as far as we did, playing at that high level. Yeah, I mean that you'll never forget that. Like it was such a great year.
That was former professional player and current coach Bert Henderson, and you are listening to the Up My Hockey podcast with Jason Podolin. Just watch me now. Welcome to Up My Hockey with Jason Podolin, where we deconstruct the NHL journey, discuss what it takes to make it, and have a few laughs along the way. I'm your host, Jason Podolin, a 31st overall draft pick who played 41 NHL games, but thought he was destined for 1,000. Learn from my story and those of my guests. This is a hockey podcast about reaching your potential. Hey, this is Jason Podolin, and this is the Up My Hockey podcast with Jason Podolin. So welcome back to the program. Today we are going to be speaking with Bert Henderson. Bert is a former teammate of mine with the OG Eagles. OG, you ask, where is OG? Well, OG is in Tomakomai, which is on the northern island of Hokkaido in Japan, and that is in the Asia League. So it's just south of Sapporo. I was there where I earned my last professional paycheck for a couple months, and Bert happened to be on that team. We did play against each other in the WHL years and years previous to that. So we had crossed paths, but then we became teammates for a couple months, and I went on to other things. Bert went on to play hockey elsewhere. Newcastle is where he ended his professional career in England. But he played in places like Cincinnati for the Cyclones in the IHL. He played in Birmingham in the East Coast League. He was a WHL graduate as well as a BCJHL graduate, playing for the Tacoma Rockets and the Kelowna Rockets. He was part of the transition from Tacoma to Kelowna. And he also played for the Kelowna Spartans and the Bellingham IceHawks of the BCJHL. Bert was a captain of the Rockets. He was always a good leader and somebody that took his craft seriously. And I enjoyed my time with him in OG. What an experience that was, by the way, playing in Japan. I honestly didn't know that there was even professional hockey in Asia. I was retired at the time, going to university actually at University of British Columbia, Okanagan here, and my phone kept ringing from these more kind of obscure professional places that I didn't really knew existed, and Japan was one of these places, and OG only had one allotment of an import that they were allowed, and they weren't happy with their import that year, and somehow my name came across their desk as a potential pickup. And the money was good, really good. I wasn't that interested in the university that I was taking. It wasn't what I expected it to be. And I'd always been super interested in Japan and the culture and the food and just a lot about Japan intrigued me. And I was like, well, what a cool vehicle for hockey to take me there. So it was an awesome life experience. I actually fell in love with the game a little bit again while I was over there, and that was a really, really cool personal experience for me. As far as As far as Burt is concerned, he went on to be a part of the Langley Rivermen and the Langley Trappers. He was GM head coach in the BCHL for a while, and now recently has gotten back in the coaching game with Burnaby Winter Club at the U15 varsity level. And this upcoming season, he's going to be joining the Burnaby Winter Club U15 prep team. And yeah, is loving working with that age group, as you will find out in this conversation. Bert also has a 16-year-old at the time of this podcast playing for Kelowna Rockets. So that's come full circle for him, and we touch on that kind of an emotional point in the podcast where he talks about his son playing for the team that he used to captain, which is really a cool experience, I'm sure, for any father who gets to experience that. So yeah, really good conversation. Like I said, Bert has a lot to offer, not only from the player standpoint, but also from the coaching standpoint, also from the hockey dad standpoint, kind of gets to wear all those hats in this interview. And yeah, I really enjoyed reconnecting there with Bert. As far as the podcast is concerned, last episode, I requested that anyone listening to the pod download it. I'm doing a little analytic experiment with those who listen. I know that myself, I am not somebody that downloads podcasts, but it is actually a great way to support the podcast that you like to listen to. Downloads is like the main analytic factor that anyone goes by. So if you aren't downloading the podcast, you are doing a disservice to the host. So I'm just kind of being more curious about the fact of how many people actually listen, because it is quite. It's not as unexpected as it used to be that people will hear my voice and recognize it from the podcast and introduce themselves, or recognize me from the podcast and introduce themselves. And, emails come in and with thanks for the podcast. So it's kind of cool. Like, there's definitely a lot of people that have chose the podcast as something that they want to listen, that they find value in, and I think that's fantastic. The only thing is, though, is like it seems like the metrics necessarily aren't really changing too much. So as as out of gratitude to me, or a request to me, or out of favor to me, however you want to put it, I would really appreciate if you download this episode. And 2 episodes from now, I'm going to take the cross section of the analytics and see if there was a bump in metrics just from having people download. I'm very curious to see, and I will share the results of that. So again, press pause if you haven't. Please download this episode. And without further ado, I bring you my conversation with Bert Henderson. All right, here we are with Bert Henderson. This has been a long time coming, Hendy. Thanks for joining us on the Up My Hockey Pod.
Well, thanks for having me. I've been wondering when you're going to get me on here, so it's nice to be on here.
I rang your bell a few times, but then we just kind of couldn't get it worked out. But now it's working out. And,
I'm happy to be here.
And things got slow enough that you finally earned your spot, on the pod.
Yeah, good. I'm glad. It took a while, but this shows you, put in some hard work and finally make it. Right.
Things work out, man. Now you're on the big stage. But no, in all seriousness, you're gonna be awesome to talk to. I mean, a lot of love your story, love where you went to, with the international involvement, your involvement in, the coaching aspect of the BCHL, even the management side. Now you're back in from the development side. You have boys that are playing, so you probably won't even come close to covering it all. But yeah, I look forward for the discussion. So maybe we'll start. You're wearing the Rockets uni there, so that's always a good place to start. You were originally with the Spartans in the BCHL, and then you went to Tacoma. Right. So maybe let's start with the BCHL journey at that point. And was that the direction you were headed because you thought you wanted to play NCAA, or was that just where you ended up playing?
No, that was the direction I was going, actually. So I played, my first year as a 16-year-old, actually played in Bellingham for the Ice Hawks. Got called up halfway through the year there, finished off the year there, and then ended up getting traded to Kelowna. And we had a really good team. Obviously, we won the Centennial Cup that year, and that was the direction that I wanted to go. I was going, I talked to schools and this and that, and I wanted to go right away. I wanted to go to school right away, and I had a late birthday, so it was going to be my draft year. So, talking to a few schools, and they said, "Oh, well, you want to play another year in the BCHL, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. So then, talking to at that time, Tri-Cities actually had my rights in the WHL, and then ended up getting traded. My rights got traded to Tacoma, who was kind of a new team, expansion team a few years before, and they had something really good going on there for a younger player. So made the decision. It's my draft year. I'm gonna take a step here and give the WHL a shot. And I played 3 years in the league. Great for me. I enjoyed every bit of it. Great organization. Still to this day, obviously my son playing up there now, I still talk to Bruce and Gavin and Hamilton family. So we're still really close, and it's kind of funny. It's come full circle. So it's been nice.
Yeah. That's wild. So yeah, so the Spartans, well, let's maybe stop on that for a second. So you guys won the Centennial Cup that year, and you were there as a 16-year-old. So talk to me about Kelowna, talk to me about what that league was like for you stepping in there at 16 and how that went.
Yeah, so actually I was 7. It was my 17-year-old year that I went up there. I went up there when I was 16 because it was a late birthday. So my grade 12 year. So it was my second year actually in the league. And the coach there at the time, John Oliver, he recruited it was a monster team. We had some Americans on the team, kids from Alberta. I had that half a year experience already. So going in, I felt pretty comfortable going in there. I got partnered up actually with a really good defenseman named Brendan Kenny. He ended up going to Western Michigan, I believe it was. We had a lot of chemistry. For me, for the growth for me at that time, first time away from home, in a new school, you have to kind of grow up pretty quick, right? So, and that's what I needed. I needed that. I needed to get away from home. I needed to kind of grow up and just live the life, have the experience of a junior hockey player. And once you get a taste of that, well, it's, it's what you want to do, right? So, we had a great year. Actually, that year we ended up, our coach, who recruited this monster team, I guess we struggled at the start a bit, and they ended up letting him go. So the assistant coach at the time, Jim Hammett, came in. He went on to WHL, and he ended up scouting the NHL. But he just came in, and the guys just were just loved him. So we wanted to play for him. They were talking about bringing in a new coach, possibly. We're like, no, we want this guy taking the helm and going, and we just had an unreal season. Like we had some of the players that played on that team. Our goalie ended up playing the NHL. Dieter Kocken played in Tampa for a bit, Minnesota, I think, for a little bit. But we had after that D core, 6 of us, none of them returned. I went to WHL, and 5 others got scholarships. Like, it was just crazy how that team, how many scholarships came out of that team, and honestly, one of the best years of my life living up there. I mean, living in Kelowna, playing junior hockey's
right on a good team.
Bad. On a good team's not too bad, right? So,
any lessons from that year? You mean now after being involved in the game for 20 years that it's hard to win a championship, even with good players and really good players. So to actually get it done and to get out of the BCJ and then to go win the Centennial is probably one of your biggest memories and biggest accomplishments, I would assume. Anything that you take away from that season?
I mean, so much, right? Just the our practices were just so intense. Coming from basically, I had half a year of junior experience, but I remember just our practices just being some of them just being like a war out there. You're battling for every puck, and that's how we played. That's how we played in games, even with the talent that we had on our team. We had all this high-end talent, but our compete level was so high just from the practices that we had. And that had a lot to do with the coach, right? That's what he required from us was our compete level at all times being just up here every time. Every time you're battling for a puck, even our goalies just not quitting on any pucks, and you look at that going, holy shit, like wow, like I want to try to score here, and they're going. They goalies they don't want anything getting in, right? And the competitiveness of just that, seeing that from your goalies, and then just that translating into the game. Their compete level was so high, just from the practices, translating that into the games, and going as far as we did, playing at that high level. Yeah, I mean that you'll never forget that. Like it was such a great year.
I love you
And I
bringing up
still
that.
talk to some of the guys too,
Yeah, of course.
that from that team, right?
Yeah.
So
that's one of the best bonding experiences ever, and you'll never take away that that connection from winning. Right. And you bring up two awesome points. So now, from a player perspective, those listening, and I mean, you're still involved in the game. You're working with young athletes. I'm doing the same thing. I talk about compete all the time. Yeah. And when you get the culture right, and when it works, you're actually letting the guy down next to you in practice if you're not giving your 100%. But there's like a social, there's a weird social kind of pressure there, right? Because if that isn't received that way by the guy you're battling against, you can be looked at as, whatever, mean, rude, trying too hard. You mean, whatever these things are, right? So what's the message to that? Like, how do you bring that to an environment as a player, or how do we talk to them about allowing this to actually happen? That this is a really good thing. You should bring this.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's, as it's a lot different today. It's funny you bring that up. I remember we had a saying in our dressing room on that team, like, you never let the brother beside you down. And that's exactly how we played and how we practiced, right? That's just how the culture of our team, right? And I think that's how you kind of have to build, I guess, from the beginning. From the start of the season, when you're building teams, you look at character. Obviously you want to build a team that has, you want to play fast. Everybody wants to play fast these days, right? But I think you have to look within, and you got to build the culture that you want to build. Is to me, is the character of the players. You want character kids, right? You want character kids who buy in. Once you have that buy-in, then it's a lot easier to build that compete, in practices and games, whatever it is. But you need the buy-in, right? And you got to establish that right away, like right at the start of the season. From the first meeting, you just got to explain that you guys are here. This is the reason why you're here. We want character kids who buy in, and at this age now. What I'm coaching now, obviously, is the younger kids. You need the buy-in from the kids. At my level, at the varsity level, last year, I think it was a lot easier because they want to all play prep the next year, right? So they're going to buy into whatever is you're teaching, right? To what kind of culture you want to build. They're going to buy in for the most part. You're going to have a couple that maybe are unsure of what their role might be, or not accepting roles, and that's a whole different story. But for the most part, the level that I coach, for my team this year, we had a great group of kids, that all bought in. And another thing that you need, obviously, is the parents. You need the parents to buy in, and that's a whole different story as well, right? Yeah. But if you have that, if you have the kids buying in, the parents buying in, then that's a recipe for success to start out. Right. And then you can start building your culture around that. But the compete level, is, to me, that's number one. You want guys that have good character and are willing to compete every day, not only in the game, but in practice, especially in practice, because that's going to translate in the games.
Yeah. And in the gym.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we do our workouts, and same, we got a really good strength and conditioning coach, and, I don't even have to go in there, and like, he's on them. These kids know that they have to put the work in the gym as well, Yeah,
and I think where the coach comes in, at least in my opinion, is, you get those good kids. Yeah. I mean, first of all, your recruiting has to matter. And by the way, for those listening, we're talking Bert's talking about U15 right now. I mean, recruiting for that. Like this doesn't stop. Like the NHL draft, they're recruiting for that. Junior level, they're recruiting for that. NHL teams, once they're in the minors, they're still looking for that. You mean from the guys that they've selected. So like the establishment of character as a high priority piece just doesn't change. So, I mean, get your head around that out there, parents, players, right? Like this is a big piece. And the character piece really at the end of the day means how good of a freaking teammate are you? And if you can be a great teammate, then you got a big check mark beside your name. So besides that, so like, let's just say, okay, that's a requirement. But even in that group of good kids, I think that the standard of compete has to come from us, right? The guys with the whistle. Because if we ever notice it in a practice where it's not there, right? Or if there's an example where it doesn't show up, whether we acknowledge like where it isn't happening or whether we're celebrating where it is, I think that's where we can come in, right? Like positive and negative. And if we let the guard down on that, then all of a sudden it can slip, right? Now it's recognized as being okay not to compete.
Yeah, I mean that's accountability, right? The kids need to be accountable, right? So and coaches too. Like you just like I'm pretty demanding when I run my practices or my bench, and kids the ones that want to get better accept that and they can accept the criticism when it's time to do that. But some kids you have to be you have to talk to them a little different, right? But that's just how kids are today, right? But for me, you got to demand that compete. I think from the kids in practice, and you got to set that pretty early in the season so they know that hey, if I want to move up or I want to play or I got to compete, and I got to compete in practice. I have to do the little things that matter, in games, whether it's blocking a shot, my play away from the puck has to be, has to be good. I got to be hard on the back check. I got to finish my check when I can, and just play on top. There's a whole bunch of things that we're teaching these kids these days, right? Yeah. And compete is one of them, right?
Yeah.
So like some kids they'll come into the season because let's be honest, we're talking at academy levels, we're talking about high end guys, right? High end players that are coming to play academy. So you're recruiting high end players that probably were the best players on their team, right? So they didn't really they can get away with taking a shift off here or there and not coming hard on a back check every once in a while. Well, that's not acceptable, on the academy. On my team, it's not acceptable. If you do that, you're going to get talked to, and it better not happen again. Else you probably will be sitting next to me, until you get it right. So, but for like it comes down to for me, and for our level, you're going to roll your lines. Like you want to get all the kids better, right? So for me at my level, I was fortunate enough to have 4 lines I could play anyways, but you roll your lines. You want the kids to get better. You want everybody to get better. So you give everybody a chance. And, but if you're not going to compete and you're not going to, like I said, you're not going to come hard on the back check. You're going to take that shift off. You're probably not going to see the next shift. Yeah. And if it happens again, you're going to sit long. But I don't like to sit kids, but sometimes, the message isn't getting through. That's the only way to do it. Sometimes you have to, but I don't like doing it. But that's part of it too. You got to teach kids; they got to be accountable at some point, right?
I love it. The other thing that I just want to highlight that you talked about was the compete from the goalies. It's like to me, that is such a core facet of any good team is goalies that give a crap about pucks going in the net, like for real care, right? I said that to any goalie that I ever work with, right? That I'm doing spring teams right now, and it's like if you guys are the most competitive players in practice, like our team's going to be amazingly better, because I completely remember that every team I played for, the goalies that made it hard for me to score in practice, especially for what I did as a job, like it made it way more fun. Like it made it way more fun. And made everyone better, right? Like, so I think that for any of those goalies out there listening, like, oh my gosh, like from a player perspective, from a team cohesion perspective and chemistry perspective, and you want to get a coach in your corner, like be hard to score against, like, all the time, and you're going to
Oh
be
yeah,
loved for a long time too.
absolutely. I mean, defenseman, right? I'm a defenseman, so when I see my goalie, battling for every puck, that means, hey, I'm not going to let this guy down. I'm going to block this shot. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do whatever it takes to help this guy out
Yeah.
behind me, right? So, yeah, I mean, I've been fortunate. I played with a lot of really good goalies, and I remember the one when I played in the IHL in Cincinnati, Joff Sargent. Man, that guy competed for like every puck in practice. I was like, holy jeez, this kid doesn't like getting scored on at all. And I was like, oh yeah, I've never seen anything like it. Like it was pretty special, right?
Yeah.
And like I said, that team that we had in Kelowna was like everybody. And that's really where I learned how to play really,
Yeah.
how to compete. This is what it takes to win a championship. You needed like this band of brothers coming together, doing whatever it is that is needed. I remember when we were playing in the playoffs, we were in Penticton playing, and one of our players, Silverio Myro was his name. He was a 20-year-old, and he dove to block a shot with his face. Like this is the kind of like buy-in that we had. We would do anything to win the game, right? And I still remember, he just dove with like head first to try to block a shot, like
Yeah.
it
With
last
no
minute of
face
the
mask
game.
on, by the way.
Yeah, like yeah, we had visors, but this guy wanted to win so bad. 20-year-old last year, like he was willing to take a slap shot in the face to block
Yeah.
to win the game, basically. And
Yeah.
I was like, I was a 17-year-old kid going, holy jeez, okay, this is what it takes. This is what winning this is
Yeah.
what winning is, right? This
100%.
is this is what you need to be successful. You gotta compete, and you gotta do whatever it takes to win.
Yeah.
And we won the championship that year. So
That's fantastic. Yeah, back to just the goalies, like Derek. So Derek Plant was on. I mean, you played against him
hmm
in Asia there for a while, hell of an
yeah,
NHLer, but he played with Hasek, right? And he told Hasek's
yeah,
story on his interview, like how crazy competitive he was, like psycho almost with how competitive
yeah,
he was, and what a great athlete he was. And then, like I played with a lot of good goalies too, and a lot of competitive guys, but the one that really stood out for me, which I've told in this show before and who's been a guest, but was Cristobal Huey. So it was the lockout
hmm
year in whatever it was, '06, I think the NHL had a lockout. And so a lot of
yeah,
these NHLers were coming over to the different European leagues, right? So Cristobal came to us in
hmm
Mannheim. This is an NHLer, right? This is
yeah,
why it like still blows my mind, right? Like this is an NHLer who had immense amount of success in the NHL too at the time, as one of the top goalies. He came to us, which could have been just like a European party kind of, right?
right,
Like, let's
yeah,
go. I'm just going to get some ice time in and get some games in. And he was the freaking hardest working guy on the ice, like every time. And like, I would watch him. Like there'd be practices where I legitimately thought nobody scored, like the entire time.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
he was
yeah,
so good and he was so competitive and he did it with a smile on his face and he made it so much fun for everybody around. I was just like, wow, like I mean, shit, I played on so many freaking teams, dude. Like
hmm
it was
hmm
so memorable how he showed up and how he did his thing that it was like impossible not to make the connection of like, oh, that's probably why he's pretty freaking good
right,
too. You know what I
right,
mean? Like,
yeah, yeah,
so anyways, I just love those stories when you see like pros that are really taking being a pro to like that next
yeah,
level and you get it right.
absolutely,
And again,
right.
for those goalies out there, but put it in your toolbox. It's such a cool thing to be. Just want to take a short break from the conversation with Bert to share some new news in the Up My Hockey world. And that news is that I will be joining Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho for the upcoming season as the U18 co-coach along with Jeremy Milmock. And I will be relocating my family down there for the hockey season. All three of my boys will be playing for Coeur d'Alene Hockey Academy. And yeah, I'm really excited about the opportunity. Now, I'm going to have Jeremy on. We're going to talk about Coeur d'Alene and, my choice for going there and why I'm excited about it. But as far as up my hockey and what that means to up my hockey, it doesn't change much of anything of what is happening with up my hockey. Up my hockey mindset programs will still be being delivered by me and through my associate coaches. I will be working with my inner circle still. I will be running team sessions, and yeah, life will move on in the Up My Hockey capacity, as will the UMH 68 Invitational in 2026. So what this is a move. I mean, we're taking it as a short-term move, I guess. Like, we are not buying a house or selling our house. We are moving down there for the hockey season, my family and my boys, and I'm really looking forward to pouring my heart and soul into the players there at the Coeur d'Alene Academy, and we're really excited about the new adventure. But again, it does not change the podcast. It does not change the mindset programs. It does not change the UMH 68 Invitational. It doesn't change my inner circle or the players that I'm working with on a mindset side. All it means is that my daytime hours will be, invested with the team that I will be coaching and the players that I will be coaching there. So, really exciting times. If you happen to be somebody that is in the Western Hemisphere here and is trying to think of a place to play, Coeur d'Alene is offering a U15, a brand new U15 AAA team or a varsity team that will be entering the CSSHL. That's where my youngest TJ will be playing for that team. They also offer U17 AAA, U17 Prep, and U18 Prep. So there is a team there that might be available to you. We are looking to fill the last few spots with some quality individuals and some quality hockey players. So if that is something that interests you, if me being there interests you, and you would like to be coached by me, or you're at that U18 level and you're not sure where to go, I would love to entertain a call, as would Jeremy Milmock, my co-coach there. So reach out to me. Let me know if that's something you're interested in. I will say that the facilities down there are absolutely fantastic. What they call the field house, where you can train, or it's right next to their classrooms, shoot pucks, work out, throw the ball around, play some ping pong, you name it, they got it there. The players have access to that facility. The rink is right across the parking lot. It's a one-stop shop. It is a place for players who want to improve, who want to get better. And the coaching staff there, the family of coaches is quite phenomenal from what I have got to know so far. So yeah, we're really excited. That'll be a move that we've been making in the fall here of 2025-26. I just wanted to make that announcement here, and just to let everyone know that Up My Hockey will continue as usual. Now let's get back to the conversation with Bert Henderson. Let's go back to you. So Kelowna. Okay, so you were talking about your draft year earlier. So your draft year was technically in the BCJ, and then you went. So it was like your second year of eligibility, where you're like, "Hey, I want some more exposure. I think something might happen here for me." So we decided to go to Tacoma.
Yeah. So I'm a November birthday. So late birthday.
Oh.
So going into Tacoma was my draft year.
Gotcha. Now I got you. You're like my kid. He's November 29th. Yeah. You get that extra year of like.
Get that extra year.
Yeah,
so after September 15th, right, you're going to the next year's draft, right? So I'm thinking,
so you walk into there with some expectations, and you have a good year too. Like, so, and then I noticed like you didn't get drafted. So like, walk me through that year. You walk in there, you're expecting things, you have a good season, things, and then your name doesn't get called. Like, how did that whole season go?
Right. So going into that year, I was kind of, I would say probably a good two-way guy. Just moved the puck, played power play, like second unit on that Kelowna team, which, I was never going to be on that first unit because it was stacked. So I got second unit minutes on the power play. I had a pretty good year. I think I had something like 30-something points or something like that, which wasn't bad for a 17-year-old D-man at the time. So I knew I had offensive abilities, right? And that's, at that time, that's what I wanted to be, I guess, was I wanted to be more offensive. And at that time, there wasn't a lot of guys doing that like it is today. Like, everybody kind of it has a lot of offense. The game's just changed so much where D-man's so involved in the offense now. Back then, it really wasn't. Like, you had your big, strong, tough D-man that everybody wanted. No one was really looking. I was undersized, 5'11", but I wanted to be more offensive. I figured if I put up some points, I'll get noticed, possibly get drafted. So ended up working my way into the top power play that year, which I worked hard. I had a good off season coming into camp. Had a really good exhibition season. Started out, it was a learning curve. Obviously, different league, bigger, stronger guys, tougher guys. The league was tough back then, right? As you know. And I just kind of wanted to establish myself as maybe a power play guy, and hopefully teams would be looking at that. So I had a pretty good year that year. Ended up 50-something points or something, 52 points or something like that. And I thought, okay, that's a pretty good year. Hopefully someone's going to notice. And ended up not getting drafted that year. I talked to a few teams anyways, didn't end up getting drafted. So, it's fine. It's no big deal.
Was it? Was it
well,
fine?
well, it was because was I expecting to get drafted? Probably. Was it the end of the world? No, because I had another year, right, to get drafted, right?
Yep.
So I'm like, okay, I gotta come back a little, probably a little stronger, bigger, stronger. So I hit the weights pretty hard. I think I came in camp probably maybe 10 pounds heavier, stronger, right? And at that time, you get your whatever it is, 3-4 fights a year, whatever it was, back then. That's just what you did, right? So, I got it started out, got in a couple fights, but still, I'm like, do I really want to do this? Not really, I'd rather play the game, right? So I'm like, okay, maybe, I just try again. So obviously, still, power play guy, offensive guy. Had another pretty good year. So that year I figured I was, I was going to get drafted that year. I think I got 60 something points that year, up my point total, 61 or something like that. I think it was 61, 62 points. Pretty good year. I thought I had, we had a pretty good team that year. I think we finished second. I think we lost to you guys they had that funny round robin playoff format that year, I think it was. And you guys beat us in overtime, maybe, I think, and eliminated us. But we had a pretty good team that year. I think we finished second place that year. I think it was second, but we had a really good year, a really good team that year. So I figured, this year it could possibly happen. I was hopeful. My agent was hopeful. He said, yeah, this is the year. And he actually called me from the draft. Said, sorry, it didn't happen. And he was shocked. And I was like, that hurt. Cause I thought that year I did everything that I possibly
team success,
did.
individual success.
Team success, individual success. I was playing more of a physical role, still putting up points. But yeah, so that would hurt a bit. Surprising a little bit, because you know how it is. You see these guys getting drafted, and okay, hey, okay, but so, but that was tough. And then so after that, the big move happened. So we went from Tacoma, and then you heard the rumors that were happening. We're gonna move Kelowna. I was like, oh shit, that'd be awesome. If we go back, if we're moving anywhere, Kelowna would be the best spot because we've obviously been there before, won there, comfortable there, had the same billets, went back, lived with my same billets, and again, had a pretty good year that year as well. And finally, no, actually going into that year, I went to Ottawa's camp. So I got a camp invite at least. Didn't get drafted, but I got a camp invite. So that year I went into Ottawa. That was so I went to rookie camp. Pretty good players were there. Daniel Alfredson, that was his rookie camp too. So I remember being at rookie camp with him. And my roommate was Andy Delmore, who ended up playing. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
we were roommates at rookie
What a
camp.
small world, man. Frick.
Yeah, yeah. So he ended up playing for quite a while. But
dude,
so that was a good experience.
So Deli and I were really good buddies in Mannheim because we played there 1 year together. Yeah. And we still talk. Like, I mean, I'm still buddies with him. But like looking at like his career, like when he was in the show, he was like set like 2 or 3, maybe even 1 year in like defenseman goals scored in the entire NHL. Like the whole thing. Like
I know.
Like so underrated, like an off the radar as far as like what he was able to accomplish, and then like still being an up and down guy for some unknown reason, right? Like anyways, but yeah, like that's wild that you were roommates with him. He's a great dude. But
even in that camp, you can just see, oh, this, kind of, he's really good. This guy, like, he's gonna do something. Like you can tell, right? Yeah. And they ended up doing it. Like, but yeah, so that was a great experience for me. Just kind of seeing what it took. I remember Alfredson doing the VO2 max, just crushing it, going, holy cow, like, okay, I got to step up. Like, I thought I was in good shape, right? But then you see this guy breaking records, basically, and I'm going, okay, yeah, I got to change my workouts somehow. Like, because I was, how back then I was more about lifting heavy weights. That's all I did was lift heavy because I thought you had to be big and strong. But in reality, should have been doing more core stuff, more legs, more power skating, right? But coming out of that camp was an eye opener. Going, okay, you need some work to do. Like, it's not easy playing at this level, right? So came back, got named captain of the team that year. And we had a pretty good team that year as well. We got Rob Gordon back from Michigan. He was a good buddy that I grew up with playing minor hockey with. And we convinced him to leave Michigan after a year. So he came and joined our team. We ended up making a few trades that year, brought in Surrey from Prince George. So we had a pretty good team to make to make a pretty good run. And again, we just kind of crashed out in playoffs again, but it was a good year for me again, points wise.
That was a really good year.
Yeah, put up a bunch of points, and then same kind of thing. I don't know if you remember playing in the old barn up in Kelowna. You ever play in that Memorial?
Oh, yeah.
So playing dub games in there, it was like I go back there and I go just take a peek in there. I'm wondering how the hell did we play dub games in here? Like, it's crazy.
So
the
cool,
big guys.
like the atmosphere.
Atmosphere was great.
Nuts.
And that team, we probably had the toughest team. Like, I mean, we had Scott Parker, Todd Fedoric, and then we traded for Sheldon Surrey. Like, we had these heavyweights. Just nobody wanted to come play us. Purrington, yeah, we had him, but then we ended up trading him to Lethbridge that year. Brought in Lee Hamilton, who was another pretty tough guy, would fight anybody. And we had guys that just would, like we had Jason Delorme. He'd fight any, like, little guy, but he'd fight anybody. We just had a handful of guys that just would fight at the drop of a hat, and nobody like coming. There's so many battles with, like,
Jamie Butt was tough too.
Jamie Butt, Butter was tough, man. Like,
well, you know what though? Like, it's so, like you said already, like not that your team, like, but every team had like 3 guys. At least, right? And and again, even like your second liners were tough, would fight. Like it was just a tough league for sure. It was a tough league. Mm-hmm. And for those listening, so Sheldon Surrey, who we both know, obviously you played with him. He was my age, my draft year.
mean, NHL All-Star, right? Like $8 million, like led the league in goals. Like he went on to have this awesome NHL career. And you essentially outshone him that year, right? Like you had 74 points, 69 games. Surrey, when he came over, had 27 and 27. You had set more goals than him. Kind of one of those things, right? When you look back on it, right? Like, so there's this guy, like there's you in that point in time, right? Like relatively your peers, right? And you're maybe even outperforming him in some ways. He had been drafted, you hadn't been. What would you say, like looking back on that now, or even the player he became, or the career you had? I've done that with my own self too, right? Like, do you see any differences there? Like, what was the difference between you and him at the time, or why was he able to maybe do what he did at the NHL level? If you know what I mean, like by that question, like
you know what, man, he was just like such a great guy. We really hit it off. When he came in. He didn't have an ego or anything. He had the big contract, I think, with New Jersey. But man, we hung out every day, just a down to earth, real nice guy. But he was such a specimen, like he was just like we were like boys and he was like a man, and that shot that he had, imagine that shot in the little memorial arena, right? So I try to send him up one tees all the time, but like but
definitely gifted physically, eh? Like he fit like from that side, like big
just,
broad shoulders, like put together, right? Like
just like a man playing with boys, right? And not necessarily offensive defenseman, I guess you'd say. You had the big shot, right? You had the big shot, but was just a real tough, nobody wanted to mess with the guy. But he put up points just because he was such a man against boys, right? And that translated to when he went to the NHL, right? He was still like a man there, like
and
he's like heavyweight there.
When you were talking earlier, kind of about what you wanted to be, right? Like meaning you wanted to be an offensive defenseman, right?
Yeah.
One of the things I don't know what you do. What the heck? Hold on here. Okay, yeah. So when it comes to player identity, right? Like what you want to be sometimes isn't maybe what you can be or should be, right? Or really understanding what that is. And I think when I'm working with players now, it's one of those things that I want them to understand. Hey, what are your gifts? What are your strengths? How do you become valuable? Sheldon Surrey's case, I think that maybe he had an advantage, obviously, on both of us, was that he didn't have to be offensive originally at the NHL level, right? Like he was big enough and strong enough and could defend well enough that that's probably how he got his foot in the door. And then the rest of his game evolved. He was able to use that big shot and then be an offensive, force really at that level. When you look back on you, like, do you feel that like if you would have reconstructed it now and understood maybe how to get your foot in the door or who you could have been as a player, would you have changed anything when it comes to that?
That's tough. I don't know. I guess my game back then was more suited for the game now, so when I look back, what could I have done different? I mean, probably nothing really, because I was undersized, right? At that time, to be a D-man, you had to be 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". That's what they wanted. All teams wanted. They wanted big guys, right? And you had a couple guys that were undersized, under 6 feet, that could play, but you had to be like spectacular, like you had to be really good. And I guess I did everything good, and and never really had that one thing that set me apart from other guys. I guess so. I mean, that's a tough question because at that time, my game, there was I guess there was a spot for somebody like me in the game back then. Obviously, there was, but to the next level, my game, it would have been hard to translate to the NHL because you had to be, really good to play my role that I had to play in the NHL at that time.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas now in the NHL, you got most of your D are all mobile D that are involved in the offense. You know, even on my team, I want my D involved in the offense, right? You go, and we have the puck. We got 5 guys thinking offense. I don't care what position you are. We're thinking offense, right?
Yeah.
And then, you know, when you turn the puck over, it's different. Then you defend, right? But yeah, you know, it would have been tough. It would have been tough. Tough. Yeah.
Reason I asked that is like, because me personally, like I always took so much pride and value in scoring, right? Like I was a goal scorer, and I love being a goal scorer. And I just thought, I mean, if you scored enough goals, you're going to end up wherever you need to be. You know, the rest will kind of take care of itself. And you know, we were from an era, we already talked about that. It was a tough era. I mean, I wasn't afraid to drop the gloves. I felt that I did that more than enough for how many, you know, points I was putting up. But the other side of that is like finding more value in things that aren't scoring, you know, and maybe in my case, right? Because like with all your eggs in that basket, you know, if you do get called up in a 3rd line role or a 4th line role in the NHL or wherever, right? Like if you're not really taking value in what that role provides value with for the team, then maybe you're missing an opportunity there, right? Because you haven't really thought about it that way. Another example that comes to mind is Dennis Holland, who's been on the pod before. Like he was a little bit before our time, but played in Portland with Troy Mick. He was a Vernon guy, like a 160 point kind of guy in the WHL, right? Like lit it up there. And never ever played in an NHL game. And he said, he's like, I just wasn't a good enough skater, but I didn't realize it. You know, he's like, I didn't realize it, and I didn't work on it because I was getting success by doing what I was good at, and I had practiced what I was good at. And I didn't practice what I should have been practicing.
What I should have been practicing, right?
You know? So anyway, I just think there's kind of those little micro examples sometimes that show up where it's like, you know, oh well, maybe, you know, and it's not like looking back with grief or remorse, but it's just like, hey, you know, maybe I could have done this, you know, like maybe I could have had this sort of perspective. And I try and encourage players that now to be like, you know, to be good wherever you're going to be. Like everybody wants to be a point guy. And that's kind of where I got in my head thinking about you, right? Like no one is playing hockey, you know, U13 or U15 thinking, geez, I want to be a checker my whole life.
Right.
You know? And I get that. I don't think players should want to, but there is still value in doing that.
Still value in that. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's part of building a team. You need your point guys. Obviously, you know, you have your point guys, but you need other guys that do the other things.
Yeah.
You know, that are just as important, you know. Like I'm really big on play away from the puck, right? Your play away from the puck has to. That's why we do video. We do a lot of video and teaching the kids, you know, what to do because they haven't really been taught. They're coming out of Pee Wee and that, so you know it's a lot of skill development in those years, right? So they don't really learn how to play away from the puck in Adam and Pee Wee. You know, they maybe a little bit, but not at the level now where you're academy, and then at the prep level when you enter your WHL draft year, you know, scouts are looking for that, right? So I try to teach the kids, you know, like when you don't have the puck, where should you go? What should you do? What's my responsibilities? You know, and then in the offensive zone, in the neutral zone, and all the zone, and the D zone, like all zones, we got to teach kids, you know, I guess you can say how to play the right way, right? That's the big thing, but you know, so.
And those are the details of the game for sure that do end up mattering, right? Like they matter, they matter a lot as that funnel tightens. And I guess, I mean, back to my point about like player identity is like the ability to self-assess what you are is a very, very good tool to have, right? And like I've had a lot of players that have come up and you know, I am a goal scorer. Oh, really? How many goals did you have last year? Oh, 12. You know, like really? Well, how many goals do you know, 15? I'm like, well, is that an accurate assessment? Like you might like scoring goals, but like you haven't really ever done it in any type of capacity, right? And if that's the way you see yourself, like you're gonna have a really hard time fitting yourself into a puzzle piece somewhere because you're not maybe or what you think you are, maybe as good at what you think you are good at, right? Like that's a tough conversation sometimes as a coach to have because you don't want to put a ceiling on guys, but you also need to like be real. I think
be truthful,
right? Be truthful, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Those are tough conversations, you know, especially kids that are, you know, the age that we coach, right? Those are tough conversations because everybody, you know, with all the social media out there, everybody wants to be a goal scorer. Everybody, that's what they see, right? And that's what they want to do. And sometimes it's tough to have that conversation with kids. They're like, hey, man, like, let's talk about your play away from the puck. Let's hone in on that. Let's get that first. Before we're talking about goals. I always told the kids, like, I don't care how many goals they score. I don't care how many points they get. Let's look at the video after the game and see how we did when we didn't have the puck. Let's look at that, and we did. And that's how the kids learned. By the end of it, the kids were all dialed, like we had a pretty good run in playoffs, and that's just buy-in from the kids. And it's tough to get, right? As it's tough to get. But once you get it, and you can do something special. Like, the kids are willing to learn, right? And that's big. A lot of classroom work, right? They're really learning there. It's going to translate on the ice. That's the best teaching tool, right? It's just a lot of classroom stuff too.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I mean, it's nice when they do understand, like that one principle you're talking about, being above the puck. Like, I don't want to get into a coaching seminar right now, but I call it reloading in the offensive zone to keep trying to attack from above. Like, you get the puck more, right? Like when they do it, like, you have the puck more. So now you're getting more offense, you're getting more scoring chances. So like that reward for playing that way is a nice, motivator for them to buy in, right?
Yeah. And it took us a while to figure that out, because they, like I said, they don't learn that, right? Yeah. Coming from Pee Wee or whatever. They're just told, go get the puck, go get the puck. Well, there's a certain way you gotta go get the. It's like playing chess, right? I always told them, we play chess. We don't play checkers. We play chess, And then you show them the video. Okay, this is how it's done. This is what works. Okay, you see how it works? Oh, then they say, oh, okay, yeah, we get it now. And then, like, by the end of it, we were like on top. We were on getting it. Like, it was fun to watch. It's really fun to watch.
Awesome. Yeah, that's fun as a coach to see that come into fruition too. That's great. I think it is kind of the new dawning, though, of like the power forward. I think, like, because back when we played, like, everyone we talked, like, everyone had some element of grit, right, and toughness. You just couldn't play if you didn't. I don't care who you were. But now it is like there is more skill, and there's more emphasis on skill, and it's the highlight reel era, and everything on IG is a toe drag and a this and a that. Right. Like that's what all these kids want to be, but they're not all as good at it as they think they are. I mean, and I think that we kind of agree on that. And the unicorn now is the power forward, the guy that does take pride in the blocking shots, and the guy that wants to go to the net and knock the net off the moorings, and maybe get in the odd scuffle. Yeah. So like I just think that when I do see a player like that now, like a little bit of a throwback, it's like, oh my gosh, you have no idea how valuable you are, right? No idea.
Oh, so valuable.
Keep doing what you're doing. So like, I think it's kind of cool, right? The stuff that we're talking about is actually in really high demand, because less guys are willing or wanting to do it, or maybe are coached to do it, right? So for anyone out there that, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, we just got done with our ID camp, right? And our exit meetings. We had a couple kids who were like, yeah, I'm like, so we asked, what's your identity as a player? What kind of player? Well, I'm a power forward. I'm a grinder. I was like, oh, really? That's awesome. Like, you usually don't hear that. You say, oh, I want to score goals. I want the puck. I need the puck, okay. But we had a couple kids that came, good players too, and they actually they're going to be on our prep team next year, that just said, you know what, I'm a power forward. I want to be a power forward. I want to be the guy taking the puck to the net, causing chaos. I'm a grinder. One kid just said, I'm a grinder. I'm gonna grind it out. If I score, great. But I want to be a grinder. We're like, this is awesome.
Yeah, you're in.
So refreshing to hear that. Yeah. So there are some out there that know their their value, right?
No, and they're ahead of the game. Is all I'm saying, right? Like if you are in that scenario and you like doing that and you self-identify with that, and you're like, yeah, let's go throw a puck in a corner, I want to go get it. Like, awesome, right? Like there's a place for you to play for a long time, probably, with that mentality, right?
Absolutely. There'll always be always.
Yeah. So when it comes back to you, to pull it back in, you ended up making the jump to the international hockey, and specifically Japan. you know, I don't want to jump through, but I mean, obviously you had some pro time too. So you were playing pro over here in North America. You know, you I'm guessing you didn't get the look that you wanted or the opportunity that you're getting there, and you're like, you know what, this might sound like a good opportunity. Let's go to Japan. So maybe walk us through like the decision to go there, and then we'll get into your time in Japan.
Sure. Yeah. No. So getting back after Kelowna, I had a pretty good year. Ended up going to the East Coast League. Played 1 year in the East Coast League in Birmingham. One of the best years of my life. Had so much fun. Went down there. A couple buddies that I played with in junior. We went down there, living on our own for the first time. I was 20 years old. Just turned 21 in November. Anyways, great year. Had so much fun. Developed. Had a pretty good year there as well. And then got signed by the affiliate. So since Cincinnati was affiliated with Birmingham, so they liked what they saw out of me, I guess. And so I ended up signing a contract with them, ended up there for 2 years. Played for Ron Smith, great coach, taught me a lot. And during my second year, so the Olympics were coming up in Japan. So actually, Willie Desjardins, who was coaching over there at the time, he found out that I was half Japanese, that my mom was Japanese, and they were trying to get all these heritage, players with Japanese heritage come over to Japan to play for the national team, to play in the Olympics. So I remember Willie calling me, and I was like, nah. Like, I got this dream, right? I got this dream playing the NHL. I'm only 20 at that time. I was 23. So, and you hear, at that time, for defensemen, 25 is kind of the age where you really take the step and you develop into an NHL player after, playing in the minors. So I'm like, I got a couple years to kind of develop, and see what I'm doing. So I said, I'm not ready for that yet. So Willie, he kept in touch with me throughout the year. Year comes to an end. I had pretty good year that year. And then ends up, our team now is going to be affiliated with Carolina in NHL. So they're going to sign some players off of our Cincinnati team, and I was one of them. So I'm like, okay, here's my chance here. So you're excited. Okay, they want to sign you to an NHL contract. It's obviously a two-way contract. More for me playing in the minors at the time, which that's what I asked. That's what I want. I want a chance to prove myself, right? But Willie kept calling, and Japan, like, it's pretty good money over there that they were throwing around at the time. So I didn't want to go. Honest to God, I didn't want to go. It took my dad, who's he's a money guy, numbers guy. He kind of sat me down and said, son, this is, you're going to have to go over there. This is a pretty good contract. Are you going to make the NHL? Like, he had to just give it to me straight. Are you going to be in the NHL? Probably not. Right. But if you go over to Japan and you play however many years it is, you can come back. You'll have a nice little nest egg, and you can start your life after you finish in Japan, because this is a really good opportunity, just to make your life a little easier, right?
Yeah.
After hockey, right? And I was like, I don't want to go, man. I have this dream still, and I finally realized that it's probably. I was thinking at the time, I'll go over there for a couple of years and then come back, right? Just, okay, I got Willie coaching me. He's, great, he's an NHL coach, he's a great coach. So I'll go over there, I'll play a couple years, and then come back and give it a shot again, and then have a little, save up a little money, right? But I ended up staying there. What was I there? God, 7 years, 8 years, 8 years. I think I ended up staying there. It was just like, it's not bad. Well, I played the 2 years for Willie in Sapporo, and then our team ended up folding because of they had some scandal with the company that owned the team or something. So they ended up folding the team. So OG, the team that we played on together, called me and said, it was about 45 minutes from Sapporo. So said, yeah, come play for us, sign this contract. So I was like, it's pretty good too. Pretty good. So I ended up going there. I played there for 6 years. And then, I had a pretty good run there. So loved it there. Yeah. Loved it there. Different, obviously different, as you know, it's a lot different. Hockey's not huge there, right? But pretty good living you made. Short season, so you get to come home early, But no, I loved it there. Met a lot of good people, a lot of friends there. My mom got to come visit, quite a bit, and she loved, going back. She was born there, so that was nice for her to have her, give her that, that opportunity to go back to her country and visit, and she loved it. So a lot of good memories there.
Yeah. Did you end up playing in the Olympics that year?
No. So I actually didn't want to leave. So I had to. I would have had to left that year. And they were given. So they were basically trying to recruit that year before my second year in Cincinnati. So they recruited a bunch of guys like Dusty. Dusty went over there. Ryan Kubara went over there. A bunch of guys went over there, got their passports, played in the Olympics. I didn't want to leave. I figured I was still young enough where I still wanted to give it a go, right? And so I didn't get to play in the Olympics, but went there the year after. I think it was the year after the Olympics. And then stayed there for 8 years. So had a pretty good run there, and a lot of good memories. So it was a lot of good memories, a lot of good people. Like just with the imports, just kind of hang out. And, it was, but Japanese players all want to learn, the North American style or the North American way, and then the North American way of living. They all want to learn English. So and everybody's so polite there, so nice. The food is fantastic. The food is unreal there. So I miss it. I'd like to go back there and visit one day. So
that was fun. That was a really neat experience for me, for sure. And that team was cool. And I mean, 6 years. I mean, I was there for I think 2 months or something, right? I couldn't imagine 6 years would be. Obviously, that's a whole different experience. But even my experience there, it was just awesome. Like, imagine hockey, right? Like you would never have thought that at 16 years old playing for the Rockets, right? That you're going to be a professional in Japan, right? Like
I didn't even know they had hockey over there.
Right.
To tell you the truth, I had no idea until Willie called me and said, I coach a team. Coach a team here, and want to get you over here. I know your mom's Japanese. I don't know. Like, this is how good Willie was recruited. I had. Like, nobody knew that my mom was Japanese. Like, you know what I mean? And he knew somehow. He found out. Like, that's how good a recruiter he is. Like, he found out that my mom was Japanese and called me in Cincinnati the one year saying, "Hey, come to Japan and play for me."
That's wild. And you know what? Small world again, but my first ever pro game was played for the Cincinnati Cyclones. They called me up from Spokane for the playoffs. So like, that was when there was like maybe a full affiliation, but Florida's affiliate was Cincinnati at the time. So they called me up there. I think I was 19 years old. Like, and that was IHL was an old league then, right?
It was an old league.
Yeah.
There's an old league.
So I was like, most of the guys were late 20s in their 30s, right? And there I am running around, playing my games or whatever. It was a little bit of a fish out of water, but I mean, yeah, that's cool. Right. So I got the Cincinnati Cyclone jersey in the closet, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Back in the day, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I love my time there too. I had 2 years there. I loved it there. Yeah, Still have friends there.
That's cool.
So
let's switch. So, I mean, you play out your time there in Japan. You end up going to England, but I want to talk about the BCJ and even where it is now. I mean, so just for the record, you were part of the Langley Rivermen, Langley, Trappers before that. But with the Rivermen and the BCJ and like the landscape of junior hockey now is frickin' wild. But like, what's your memory of your time there as GM and a head coach and being a part that piece of the hockey, tapestry there in Western Canada here?
Yeah. So, family owned, Rivermen, dad and uncle owned it from, I believe it was 2011. So I had just finished playing. You know how it is after you're done playing hockey. You kind of just need a break, right? So took a little bit of a break from hockey. Wanted to try just other things and this and that. So took a break from hockey. Then obviously my kids started playing, so you get back involved. So start coaching the kids, younger kids, hockey 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. So start doing that. And then it comes up, okay, my dad's wanted to, we wanted to get an affiliate junior B team for the Rivermen. So I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. So we ended up buying an expansion team in the PJHL, which were the Langley Trappers. So expansion team, we're going to affiliate. So I ran that for 4 years. So I was head coach GM there for 4 years. So so basically the plan was, I'll get all the young players to come, play for the Trappers, and we'll move them up to the Rivermen. So we had quite a success doing that. And then it came up where now the job's going to come up for the Rivermen. So, at the time I was still heavily involved with my kids' hockey, coaching them. And my dad's like, well, here's an opportunity now. Is it time to move up? So I had to really think about it, because it would be less time with, coaching my kids and being involved with the kids. So then I had the younger boy coming up doing the same thing. Chase was coming up. Jake was kind of getting older now. But I still wanted to, not just be able to go watch his games and just be, you know what I mean? Just still be able to go and watch games, at the very least, right? And coaching junior B, run the junior B, everything was local, so no travel. So I was able to do that. It was pretty good, just a good lifestyle where I can run the Trappers, I can help coach the kids, and be around to watch them play. So when the opportunity came up, at this time I wanted to move up. I felt I was ready. I wanted to coach at a higher level. Put in some good years, and even before that, I spent while I was coaching before the Trappers. Actually, I spent 3 years coaching with John Batchelor with the Burning Winter Club Bantam team, which was the premier Bantam team. Well, now it's U15, but U15 team in the Lower Mainland. Yep. Right. So a lot of good players. I was able to coach a lot of good players those 3 years. And I learned a lot from John Batchelor, who was, he's coached guys like, Nugent Hopkins, Barzell, Fabro. All these guys came through Burning Winter Club that Batchelor coached. Right. So I was fortunate enough to learn a lot those 3 years coaching with him. So that now, and then that was before the opportunity came for the Trappers. So now I thought, okay, I'm ready for the Trappers. Had four really good years, developed a lot of guys, moved them up to junior A. So I figured, okay, now I'm ready. I wanted to take the step. I wanted the new challenge. So the opportunity came up that Riverman's going to need a new head coach GM. So I was like, okay, I'm ready. Yeah, it's time. Let's do it. And so we did. And first year we had a great run. Went all the way to the semis. At the start of the year that year, we didn't have one committed hockey player, like college commit on our team. We were the only team in the league that didn't have any college commits. And I think by the end of the year, we had 10 or something like that. So we had just a great, again,
that's awesome.
Great group of kids. Yeah, great group of kids who bought in right away, wanted to play for each other, competed like hell in practice, translates to games, right? So we went on a really good run that year. Ended up losing in the semifinals. But like I said, part of that's moving kids on, right? So we'll move kids on. 20-year-olds, I think for the most part, all their 20s got scholarships. I think all Division I, maybe one Division III, but pretty good. And then our younger guys got a lot of looks, got scholarships as well. And then, the second year was more of a rebuild because we lost a lot of guys off that year.
Yeah.
Right. So the rebuild, again, pretty good team. It was about moving kids on. We moved kids on that year, and then the year after again. After that, we sold the team. Ended up leaving my last year, and then headed back to Burn Winter Club, where it all started, to coach my younger boy. So back where it all started, which is it's nice. And this year was one of the most fun I've had coaching again. Going back to that age, I really like that age, the U15 age, where kids are really starting to figure out how to play, and that's what I like. I like teaching this age and on how to play and that. So I had a like I said, we had a great group of kids, and I had probably one of the most fun years of coaching this year.
Awesome.
To tell the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of like I've been asked that too. Well, why aren't you coaching like wherever, right? BCJ or for the Vipers or and the offer. Yeah. I mean, the odd offer comes here and there, but it's like for me, I think my biggest decision was being around my kids, like you just said, right? Like they're still in it. Like my oldest is an 09. He's now eligible for major junior this year for the first season, right? He probably won't go. He's a Blazer draft pick. I think that he probably needs another year, but we'll see what what his winter or summer looks like, and how that all pans out. But my youngest is just stepping into U15, and I have my middle boy's a goalie who's just stepping into U18. So you have a job anywhere else that's outside of that age realm, right? Like you never see him ever, right? So it's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm just in a spot where, hey, I want to be dad, and I want to be around him, and I want to be involved, and I think that they still want to be involved, have me be involved, which is nice, and in whatever capacity, whether it's a dad role or whether that's just a skills dad role or whether that's maybe even behind the bench, right? Like, it's nice to be able to do that. So to do these other levels, it can get a little bit much, and plus it becomes a little bit, I don't know, maybe too professional, if that's the word, like too much about winning, too much about not necessarily development, than winning. And I do think, I like the development aspect. I think that's a good spot to be in.
Yeah, no, that's exactly like what I'm saying. I love, this is my favorite age to coach, right? This is I think this is where I should be, really, but I enjoyed coaching junior. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it. 3 years, or if you count Trappers, it's 7 years, right? So I did it for 7 years. I enjoyed it. I enjoy coaching the older kids too, right? Because they're still developing. But it's more. It's more, not more, but a lot of it's life too. Like you got to teach them about life too, right? And I don't mind doing that playing that role as well, but I really enjoy the U15 age where they're just starting to figure out how to play, right? And they need some guidance on how to play, like I said, the right way, how to play without the puck. They're just starting to figure out how to learn from watching video, and just to get them ready for the next step, right?
Well, and contact, bro. Like,
contact, exactly. And contact. Yeah, we haven't even talked about that. Yeah,
it's the biggest step, I think. I mean, people always ask me, man, like, that's the biggest step. It's because the game changes. You're now playing a different game again. And then there's also that huge, well, out west here, they're going into high school for the most part, right? So they're going from elementary school to high school.
Right.
They're going from no contact to contact. Some guys have hair on their balls. Some guys don't. You know what I mean? Right? Like it's like there's so much happening at that age group that it really is like they're just getting hit with a water hose, like it's like, holy smokes. And to be a part of that development aspect in all areas, right? Like life areas, school areas, social areas, hockey areas, like it's a big move. And I always say to parents, like, don't underestimate it, right? Like there's a lot going on for these kids at that age.
Oh, it's huge. Like it's we're traveling for the first, they're on their own for the first time traveling in a hotel room, right? A lot of responsibilities, right? Like keeping your room clean, like, don't, even small things like packing your bag properly, right? Bringing enough snacks, calling mom or dad, right? Like some kids just they forget. So we got to remind them, okay, we're taking their phones at night, but during the day, after a game, okay, here's your phone, call mom or dad, let them know how you're doing. Right. But they're growing up. They got to grow up fast now. Right. A lot of new things that they're going through.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to take another short break to talk about the UMH 68. The 2012 BC event is full. The 2011 BC event has some spots available on D and on forward. There are some invitations that are outstanding, but if you are someone who deems you are worthy of coming to this event and you have not applied yet, the watch list is how you do it. That is at upmyhockey.com. If you would like to nominate somebody, that is also where you do it at upmyhockey.com. The watch list for the 2011 division is available. And when we move east to the Saskatchewan event, the 2012 event, we are full except for defensemen. So again, there are some invitations outstanding. I believe we're down to a half dozen spots available. But if you are a 2012 defenseman in either Alberta or Saskatchewan and you would like to attend the event, check it out at Up My Hockey. Moving farther east, we have our Manitoba 2011 event. That is the first one coming down the pipe, and we do have some room available at forward and at D. Boy, we want this to be an outstanding event. So by all means, because we are new to the area, we do not know all of the players who are worthy. So there have definitely been invites going out, but don't feel like you are being ignored. We just may not know how to get a hold of you. Finding the emails and getting the emails delivered without being filtered out into spam and all these other things that happen in the email age is quite difficult. It actually is a way that I spend a lot of time that I wish I didn't have to spend in reaching out and reaching back out and trying different ways of communication. So if you are one of those players in Alberta or Saskatchewan as a 2012, or if you are a 2011 elite player in Saskatchewan or Manitoba, please let yourself be known on the website, upmyhockey.com. Fill out the watch list. Let us know where you played. Let us know where that you are interested in coming to the event. We verify all watch list applications with a call to the coach or somebody in the hockey network, and we will get you your invite. So yes, getting into crunch time with the Manitoba event. So by all means, that's at the end of what are we in now? April. That's at the end of May. First weekend of June is when that event happens. So we want to fill up the registration list as soon as possible. Get your names in. We want you there. It's going to be fantastic. Now let's get back to the conversation with Bert Henderson.
Will you talk about your kids? So your oldest is an 08, just had his first year with the Rockets. How has it been through that lens? Like for me, it's been a completely rebirth for me and me falling in love again with hockey. I definitely had it as a kid, definitely had it as a junior, kind of got a little bit jaded as a pro at different times. Right. And then when I was done, like you said, you kind of need a break. I was one of those guys that needed a break, and my break was fairly extended. And then my boys started to play, brought me back in. started to see the game through a different lens again, like what opportunities it brought for me to help, for me to be able to serve, and yeah, I completely love the sport again. I mean, from a completely different level, on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
How has that been with you? And now, using your experience, using your knowledge to support the kids that are yours that want to play this game, and how you've been able to navigate that.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Like, so when he got drafted, when Kelowna, obviously I talked to Kelowna and before the draft and everything, it was like, this would be ideal, if you guys can get him, and they ended up drafting him. So, that was a special moment. He was third round. So he's 50th pick. Yeah, 50th pick. So that was pretty special because we weren't sure. They didn't have. I think they had 2 third-round picks because they traded away all their high picks from the previous years, right? Yeah. Because they were hosting the Memorial Cup in 2020 before COVID and all that, right? So we're hoping that Kelowna would get a chance at him, and they did, and they drafted him. It was awesome.
Super
right?
Cool.
So went up, yeah. So it was but at the same time, like the rules hadn't changed yet. So Jake, he was pretty good in school. He actually wanted to go to school originally, right? But we're just like, okay, well, Kelowna, if they get you, we'll have to have the conversation, right? Just because, So we did. So, after he got drafted, he still was like, oh yeah, it's great, but I think I still want to go to school. So that's okay. Yeah, that's great too, right? And then so he went out, he played his U18 year at Yale, 15-year-old, after the draft, had a really good year. Real good coaching there. Adam Nugent-Hopkins was his coach there. Had a really good year. They had a pretty good team. They playoffs, different story, but they had a pretty good team. Didn't do well in playoffs, but so they came up and watched in playoffs, and we had a nice conversation. Leading up to the playoffs, I was talking to Bruce here and there, and we actually met with a couple of BCHL teams at the time too, because Jake still wasn't sure what he wanted to do. And then you hear the rumblings about, okay, there's going to be a rule change. I think it's coming. We don't know when. Could be next year, but we're pretty sure that it'll come if you're, in your time in the WHL, whether it be next year or the year after. It's coming. It's going to be coming. So we kind of took that into consideration, and we're like, hey, you got the best, to me, the best organization that, I know will take care of you. I trust them. So we ended up making the decision to sign there. Well, actually, right after playoffs in Penticton, we drove up to Kelowna and signed the contract. And for me, that was a special moment, right? Just senior kid sign with the team that you played for, right? But again, like, you still got to put the work in. You still got to make the team, right? So had a good summer training last year. I got to give him credit. He worked his ass off. And then, special moments going up there, actually seeing, I went up there in an exhibition game in Kamloops. The first, seeing him come out on the ice with my number too, 27, right? Wearing my number, Henderson on the back. Pretty special moment, right? So, and then, I went up there. Me and my wife would go up there every chance that we could. Everett's pretty close to us, so we go down to Everett if he played there. But every weekend that I had off, we'd go up to Kelowna and watch. So we were able to watch him quite a bit here and there, up in Kamloops, up in Kelowna. Yeah. When they play in Kamloops, we got chatting. And obviously, when they play the Giants in Vancouver, we had, we had 40, 50 people come to those games. A lot of families and friends come watch them. So pretty cool, pretty special for me to see
That's
that
awesome.
and go through that. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to share in that with you. I was rattling Spokane's chains a little bit with Hudson.
Yeah.
Because he actually wanted to go there too, right? It was more kind of originated from him being like, that'd be so
Right.
cool to play there,
Yeah.
like where you played and
Yeah.
where your
Yeah.
pictures on the wall in the dressing room and
Right.
blah blah blah,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
but anyways, they
Yeah.
never ended up taking him, and Kamloops did. And well, Aaron, shit, I mean, the small, it's so funny, like our triangle. So like Aaron Keller, who Bert and I played with in OG, is the head scout there in Kamloops now, and they ended up taking him. And I mean, fantastic, right? Like super grateful.
Yep.
Like what an awesome organization. And I know they're
Close to home.
Yeah, close to home. Like there's so many check marks when it comes to that. But there was a little piece of me that was like, he's not going to play for the Chiefs, but anyways, it's kind of fun when we have our own history there. But thinking about you talking about Jake, like we talked about U15 being like what I think is maybe the biggest transition, but then I was just like, well, you know what, that 16-year-old year, like going from minor hockey, I don't care if it's academy hockey, whatever it is, to the WHL and in a billet and responsible in a whole new way and playing with 20-year-olds, like that's got to be, I think that, that's got to be a tie for first potentially. Like I think that was a bigger move for me than it was even going pro, right? Like once I've lived on my own and me finding an apartment, like there were some new things about being a professional that were different, but it wasn't as big of a transition as going to a new country, new billets, like this league, 72 games on the bus all the time, right? Like managing school, managing like all this other stuff that you have to do. How was it for Jake this year and being a WHLer at 16 years old?
Yeah, so at the start, I think it helped him that he went up there. He lived with two other guys on the team. One was a friend from here, so that helped with the transition of living away from home, right? Because he had two other guys that you're living with. It's hockey players are they hang out, everything's good. So I think that helped. As far as the playing, you go from playing, top minutes to now, okay, you're a 16-year-old in the league. You're going to have to slowly kind of, earn your spot, earn your minutes. Sure, you have to play 40 games, but that's the rule that 16-year-olds, you have to dress for 40 games, right? But you have to put in the time and the effort and mentally you got to stick with it. It's there were times because you're going to sit out games too, right? That's just how it is. A 16-year-old, you're going to sit games. These kids have never had to sit games, right? These 16-year-olds coming into the WHL, they all been top players wherever they're coming from, right? So Kelowna had 4 of them this year, right? Top players wherever they played, never had to sit a game. So there'll be times where I get a text like after a game. He's like, "Can I call you? Can I call you later?" And I'm like, "Of course you can call me later," And then we get into the conversation of, "Well, how come I'm not playing? Like, I don't understand." Well, son, this is this is the WHL. It's a tough league, and being a 16-year-old in this league is tough, especially at the start of the year where you're just starting to figure things out, right? So there's a learning curve here. So you need to just, put your head down, go to work, listen to your coaches, and that's it. And don't never complain about, anything. Okay? You always just listen. Anything. You don't complain about anything. You just do what you're told. Okay? If a vet tells you to go pick up the pucks, go pick up the pucks. If he tells you, you got to do your rookie duties too, right? You know how it is, pick up the pucks. No one should even have to tell you that. You just go do it, right? The trainer needs help with something, you do it. Like, unpacking the bus,
do it.
Help the trainer, do everything. Like, there's certain things that you got to do as a rookie, as a 16-year-old. And there's a learning curve. You're going to have to sit games. That's just the reality of it. Unless, you're, Landon DuPont or, these guys where, high-end guys that, they're not going to sit. But if you're a player coming into this league, who's got to earn it, hey, you got to earn it, right? And there's no excuses. You got to put the work in, right? So stay after practice, work on your shot, work on your skating, work on your transitions. Just, if coach is free, ask him to go over some video with you. Whatever it is, you just got to do everything you can to develop, at that, first 3 months, I would say it's really tough because that's the learning curve. That's when you got to kind of earn the trust of the coaches, right? So, he was fortunate that he did that, and he got a lot of time playing with Caden Price, which was helped him out a lot. I think Pricer helped him out just by being able to play with him when Pricer was in Kelowna.
Yeah.
Right. So he got that opportunity to play with him, and he learned a lot off of that. And he really, he really did develop. And by the end of it was playing pretty regular. So,
right.
It was nice to see because, those first 3 months were tough. It'd be like phone calls, like, like quite often,
Yeah, it's the
talking
toughest
about
time, man. For most guys, it's the toughest time.
Oh yeah.
And then, I mean, I know, you trust where he's at. You trust the organization. Like from a hockey player standpoint that it is part of the process. I mean, there is the argument from other sides. Maybe we won't use your son as the example in this case, but some people can't handle that. Whether it be from an emotional standpoint or maturity standpoint. And maybe more minutes and playing another year of U18 might be better for some players. Like, how do you speak to that side of it? And do you think, like, if you can play at a certain level, you should play at a certain level, or is there maybe some gray area there?
No, I think there's an argument definitely you say the term overcook. Like you play, maybe you're ready to make the step, but why not stay at U18 for a year and dominate? Right, help your game develop, and there's that argument as well. Like like I've had that conversation with players when I was coaching junior as well. Right, like, are you ready? Probably. You'd probably be in and out of the lineup, playing a lesser role. I'd rather have you go play another year of U18, dominate, right, and then come in the next year and play a bigger role.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that goes, it depends, obviously, like you said, some kids can't handle, doing, sitting out games, not playing, what they're used to. Like, you have these high-end guys, you see it all the time, these high-end guys that come play junior, expecting to, okay, I've been the guy everywhere I went. I've been the guy. I'm going to be the guy here. Or you're not playing tonight. What? What do you mean I'm not playing tonight? What? Like, why? Like, you see it all the time. It's just like, well, yeah, you're not playing tonight. You're scratched. I want you to watch the game, right? Watch the little details watch how, that so-and-so's your captain. Watch what he does. Watch him, right? So, I mean, you see that. So I think there is an argument definitely to keep kids, to overcook, you call it, right, and play U18 another year, right, just to develop and the confidence, right. Some kids can't deal with that, playing that role, and you see it quite a bit, right, and it's unfortunate, right, but other kids can, and they thrive after it. It's good learning. That adversity, right? They go through it, and then they come out on the other side, and that always makes you better, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I guess that's the $1 million question, right? Like, are they going to get through it? And hopefully, if we arm them with those skills, required that help them, to get through it, they will be better for it, because you just said it. The adversity is what galvanizes you as a human, right? That solidifies
Absolutely.
what you want to do and who you want to become and the player you can be and all these things. And that's kind of like that's the juice of that rookie season, right? Do you get out of it, being exposed to that environment, right? Knowing that you were able to get through it, like all those things are reinforcing. But for some kids, right, it's just like, no, like that's could be shattering and they could even leave the game potentially. I mean,
no, we've seen it. Seen it.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, geez, we've been talking long, and I want to talk about your kid though too, your younger one. Because it was such a cool story. I think we should talk about that before we sign off. So you had the opportunity to coach your younger boy this year, the 2011, and you're saying that he is overcoming some pretty major adversity to be able to play. Share that story.
Yeah. So Chase, my youngest, he has something called Stargardt's disease. Okay. So actually my older daughter has it too. So older daughter, Ava, and then Jake's the middle, fortunate enough not to have it. And then Chase. So it's hereditary retina disease. So basically, it's a retina disease where you slowly go blind. So my daughter, her vision is pretty bad right now. So she's considered legally blind. Chase isn't as bad as Ava, but he's still considered legally blind. So basically, he plays without any central vision. He relies on peripheral only. So he has his peripheral vision, but he has no central vision. So he'll see objects. He can't see any detail. So he can just see objects. So he'll miss a lot of, like he's not going to get any backdoor tap-ins or anything like that. But when he has the puck, he's pretty good when he has the puck. And he can go forecheck, he can go hunt. And I when I'm on the bench, I yell instructions out to him, like, okay, puck is in the corner, go in the corner. Okay, switch sides. So a lot of it's verbally me telling him where to go, right, or what to do. So yeah, he's done pretty good. He had a pretty good year. He scored 5 goals, I think, and had 20 something points as playing academy hockey against the top 2011s, really, in Western Canada, really, right? Yeah. So pretty cool story. Pretty cool for him to be doing what he's doing,
Well, how freaking courageous and brave.
Yeah.
What's his mindset like when it comes to it?
You know what? He doesn't let it bother him. He just, goes out. He loves to play. Just loves to play hockey, right? So, and again, it goes to the team that we had. Just great group of kids, man. That just the support from the parents of the kids. Like, we just had such a good group of parents and kids this year that helped him and helped me and my wife obviously watching the games and just the support from the parents was huge. But the kids too, because kids are kids, they don't really probably understand what he's going through, maybe a little, but like we had just great kids that support him. Like if you'd miss a pass, like no one's going, oh, you got to get, no, it's just like, oh, I should, what they say, oh, I should have passed it softer so you could have got it. Like they took the blame for it, instead of saying, oh, Chase, you got to get, no one ever did that. It was just like, oh, man, I got to put that puck in a better position for you. Sorry, that's my bad. Like it's just amazing, these kids that we had this year. So
that's special.
No, but he's loving it. He's loving it. He just goes out and plays, man. Just loves it.
Yeah.
That's it, right? That's what it's about. Having fun, playing.
Yeah, I love. I'm just thinking that like the game's so freaking hard. It's hard enough with 2 eyes, let alone not being able to see exactly what's going on or where it's coming from, or even pressure. Like I'm thinking about that. That's why I said courageous, right? Like
Yeah.
Sure, it's great to have the puck, but it's also great to know when someone's going to come and
I know.
play
Yeah.
out too, right?
Yeah, that's my job. I got to tell him when somebody's coming, right? Like head up, it's coming, So he'll brace himself, right? But yeah, no, he did pretty good this year. I'm pretty proud of him.
Oh, that's awesome! I can imagine how proud you are. That's super cool. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, kudos for me. I actually had Willie O'Ree on, if you can believe that.
Oh yeah,
he was a past
nice.
guest on the podcast, and he fricking played with one blind in one eye completely,
Yeah,
taking that shot.
right.
And
Yeah,
anyways, he had some pretty wild stories too. Lots of inspiration from Willie. I couldn't imagine playing the game at that high a level either.
I know,
Doing
crazy.
that, but
Yeah,
lots of cool stories out there. Glad you get to be a part of it with
for
your
sure.
boys, and great that you're being able to impart some of that wisdom there at Burnaby Winter Club. So thanks for coming on, man. Is there anything, last words you wanna provide anyone out there as far as making some dreams come true?
I mean, it's to me, if the kids out there, there's so much skill development, which is great. You need that, right? But to me, there's so many different things that you have to do now to take it to the next level, and a lot of that is a skill development. You definitely need that. Off ice training, I think, is huge too. Kids don't realize that how important the off ice training is now. Whether you're doing yoga or proper weight training, right? There's a lot of good trainers out there, but I think the off ice component gets overlooked sometimes, and it shouldn't. And then like yourself, mindset, right? Mindset coach, these kids need to be in the right mindset, right? So there's so many different things that kids could do these days, right? But at the end of the day, it's about having fun and playing the game that we love, right? So I love doing what I do, and I know you love doing what you do. And it's what it's all about, helping kids get better, right? So that's what we're here for.
Yeah, and that's the key too. I mean, all the stuff that we talk about, the high performance habits and the engine, like that's required for that. I mean, you're talking about the gym, you're talking about the compete on the ice. We're talking about maybe being willing to do some work, personal work on your mindset. Like that doesn't happen unless you fricking love what you're doing, or it doesn't happen in an authentic way unless you love what you're doing. So the first and foremost is what I'm trying to talk to these parents and players about is like, let's fall in love with this game, right? And when you do fall in love with it, and the intricacies of it, and the game itself, and the team component of it, and all these different things to have a passion for, the rest of it comes a little bit more easily, a little bit more natural. Because, frick, man, when it's all work, when that's all work, you know what I mean? Like it makes it harder, right? So I think that's where it starts from. I mean, it's such an easy thing, and I think every parent, mom and dad out there says it, go have fun, but that really is like the core of it. I mean, like find a way to have a good time with it, and a lot of that other stuff is gonna be taken care of itself,
Yeah, no, for sure. Love it.
All right, buddy. Well, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate your time, and
anytime, buddy.
I know we'll be talking again.
Happy to do it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for listening to the entire episode. Again, if you have not downloaded this and you've gotten to this point, by all means, press pause, download the episode. Let the analytics speak for themselves. I want to have every single download accounted for. I would love to know what the actual listen rate is here of these episodes, and I will be sharing the results shortly. I think that is a small ask of you to press pause and to press download. So hopefully you've already done that. I appreciate you if you have, and I appreciate you for being here. I hope you had a great experience with Bert, learning a little bit about the Asian League, what it's like to be a hockey dad in today's environment, and also what it's like to be coaching today's youth. Lots of takeaways from today's episode. So until next time, play hard and keep your head up.